Hey everybody, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm on the other app now, so what that means unfortunately is that I can't see any live comments. So if you are there, I apologize. I won't be able to see what you're saying and kind of respond to you. Which kind of sucks. That's obviously part of the fun of it. I'm not sure what's happening with the YouTube app, but their live stream seems to be not functioning properly. It kept freezing up on me there. Anyway, so that aside, thank you if you're out there. I do appreciate it. I'm really sorry we can't chat one-on-one or live. Anyway, so the collected Neil the Horse. So reading Ms. Tree, hearing them talk about Neil the Horse, running across an odd issue here and there, and always been kind of intrigued with it, mainly because of the art. I really like the style, but there's something about right now being in the kind of reading mode that I'm in, it seemed imperative while I was reading Ms. Tree that I try to find these single issues. So I went to pick up some Christmas gifts at a local bookstore, McNally Robinson, which is a Winnipeg-owned and run bookstore. I think there's one in Regina in the province over. I love supporting them every year because they're local and they always have a really great selection of stuff. So doing the once around in the shop, walking to the graphic novel section, which I do every single time I go there, I can't resist. This just jumped off the shelves at me, and it was, what was it here, 25 bucks Canadian? Yeah, so 25 bucks Canadian. So what is that? $5.50 American? So dirt cheap. Really nice volume, soft cover. Couldn't resist. Figured, what the hell. So I started reading it tonight. Lately, I've also been addicted to a game called Cuphead, and it's kind of like a Fleischer Brothers animated movie, just put into video game form, like Betty Boop or Popeye the Sailor Man, that sort of thing. Really unique style to those old cartoons, and it's translated very, very, very well by the gentleman that did Cuphead. I see that they won a couple of awards at a video game awards ceremony recently. Again, two Canadians. Again, they live in Saskatchewan, the province over. It was a family affair. It worked well. That style really resonates. That style has always resonated with me. There's a bit of that here as well. To kind of just finish off that previous thought, though, they also did a live jazz score for that video game that they've just released on, like, I think a 4 LP set, which looks phenomenal, but a little too far out of the price range. The music is incredible, though. The composer wrote a bunch of pieces, even though there would only be samples of a lot of the stuff used in the video game. He wrote complete pieces, and on some of the, apparently with some of the levels, if you play them enough times, there's different versions of the song where a different instrument will solo within that song. So I think this 4 LP set kind of collects all of the tracks, multiple versions and everything, from what I understand. Anyway, all that as an aside is just that style and that type of thing really appeals to me. And even just from starting to read this, just flipping through, I didn't realize how involved this was. As far as let's just find the page here. For example, at the end of the first strip, there's The Devil's Interlude from Neil the Horse Goes to Hell. Music and lyrics by Arn Saba. Scary and moderately fast is the instructions for playing. And she gives you a sample of the song and the lyrics that appear in the comic. Then there was an ad for this on that next page there. Arn Saba, Neil the Horse, and the Big Banana from CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I think it's about 2 hours worth. It was broadcast in 1982. She did a CBC radio play, basically, with music. Arn did the voice of Neil the Horse. Apparently it was a hit. So all this world immediately, 5 pages in, I'm loving it already. I'm absolutely loving it. So I just kind of dug through a little more and read a little bit more, and just wanted to talk about it very briefly. First of all, I mean, the style is really nice and clean. There's something just fantastic about the design of Neil the horse. Just these single lines for the legs and the tail, the shapes that are happening here, the egg-shaped face. The coloring is fantastic as well. Mamselle, I can't remember her name actually, kind of pops off the page, the colors. Yeah, very, very inventive. And again, the fact that there's a lot of thought put into it and the world of it is impressive. So apparently in this book, our trio did a lot of things like, as you saw in the first strip there, went to hell, got sent through time, all sorts of kind of unusual things happened to the characters. So the book opens with a message from Neil, Soapy, and Mamselle Poupée, and of course Catherine as well. So the characters speak to you, and what was kind of really stood out to me was Soapy's talk about we were down for the count. You see, we was going along just fine back in '93, and then blang, the lights went out and nobody told us nothing, and we were left in a totally dark, empty place. So just the fact that these characters acknowledge or realize that, hey, we did exist, and then all of a sudden we were gone since 1993. I think that's fantastic. That really hit me and brought an immediate affection for this book, even within just the introduction. Trina Robbins, everybody's favorite, well, my favorite anyway. Trina Robbins, actually at the bookstore as well today too, there was a hardcover version of Trina's The Sax Rohmer book, Dope, that Trina Robbins did in the back pages of, was it in Women's Comics or was it in Young Lust? I can't remember what it appeared in, but there's a collected version of that. It's really pricey, and considering how kind of thin the book is, went back on the shelf. Dave Kirsch, Arnt Saba's musical, a retrospective reading. And then you get the table of contents. So the other thing that's reprinted in the back are newspaper strips from 1975 to 1976 and 1977 and 1979. Catherine says in her introduction that the reason they're at the back is, yes, they're the earliest stuff, but honestly, they're not very good. So I wanted them at the back. I didn't want the book to open up with material that I didn't find as strong as later stuff. Yeah, and coming from the world of undergrounds and just trying to have a different voice, Trina talks about kind of the black and white comics boom of the 80s, with the creation of our friendly neighborhood Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Kind of opened the door for independent black and white comics, which was just a good thing once you kind of sifted through maybe the less than favorable titles that were just trying to take advantage of the market. There were some real gems that flourished. So this is a story from 1979. This is Neil the Horse Goes to Hell. And again, just immediate reaction on reading the very first strip. The style is great, like this perspective, looking way up at the judge, even looking way up at Neil. We're clearly being presented with something, not trying to give us a little more of Neil's perspective. We're looking at the entire thing. It kind of gives that, I guess, again, builds on that impression of it being a musical or a play or something that's presented to you in a very specific way. And the cartooning is just great. The illustration style is fantastic. We get our first look at hell, and again, you have the stage lights at the bottom here to emphasize that feeling of watching a production with the devil smiling and waving at you. And then we are introduced to the song, which is on this page here as well. And as soon as I read the words, I immediately think of what is in Cuphead, that kind of classic jazz type of music, mixed with Danny Elfman type of jazz, if you know Danny Elfman's music very well, or especially his, not Forbidden Planet, what the heck is it Forbidden, Forbidden Zone, is that the one that it's called? That's an incredible movie with some amazing music in it. And then the very next page being hit with this panel running right down the middle of the page to lead you to the last panel. Really inventive stuff. Really, really nice, clean style. Great use of a page. Just an all-around fun read. And again, this is the first story of the book. Super impressed. Read all this. Started listening to this actually just to see there is somebody who has archived all of the parts, all 5 parts. So it's all 5 episodes rather. So it's just over 2 hours worth of material. So just look up Neil the Horse and the Big Banana and you'll find something on YouTube. And then tale number 2, just when you thought, I don't know, I take that back. Just when you don't even know what to think about anything, you're met with Neil the Horse in this first gag, walking down the sidewalk and a crazy ass man going, "Hey bud, you want a job?" Neil says, "Sure, of course," he does. Gets fired from a cannon and sent and just explodes into the story. Just a really, really great way to introduce. So Neil is on a plane, by the way, and I want to write a story about Neil on a plane. How are we going to get him on the plane? Fantastic. Some buildings being destroyed, one with bowling balls, one with donuts, and then one that creates a domino effect for the rest of the city. And end. And then what also happened within this series, apparently, and again, I'm just discovering all this for myself as well, the comics were mixed with some prose and things too. So here we just have a story presented with a few segments with a little caption underneath as to where the reference comes in the story itself. This one being about a small town that's not impressed with the moon and the moon's lollygagging, so the moon transforms into a woman and comes down to Earth to kind of try to get the perspective of the people living on the planet and living in this small town. Yeah, again, cool style. The Fool from Arne Sabin, 1992, jumps around quite a bit. Mostly, Catherine says in the beginning that mostly is presented in chronological order, but there are some things that are inserted just because it's her book and she decided to do it that way, was her response. So there we go. Even just in those couple of pages, you can see a real transition, even cleaner, if that was possible, well, which it is possible. Even cleaner, and check out that honk. That's great. That's amazing. Yeah, just amazing. John Kay kind of reminds me of John Kay style lettering, which obviously he didn't create that style, but when I see that, that's what I think of. I think of John Kay and Ren and Stimpy. What else can I tell you? Some silent episodes here with Mademoiselle Poupée. Yeah. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I barely scratched the surface. I'm hooked. I'm a fan. This just came out a couple of months ago, so chances are you'll be able to find it somewhere still for its very, very cheap cover price. Did I mention that it was only $25 Canadian? Did I mention that? Okay, good. Support Canadians is the other thing I'll say to those Canadians out there already. And then to our American friends and friends from all over the world. Pick it up, check it out. There you go, more prose. Sorry, if the screen falls asleep on the phone, the app shuts itself off, so I don't want the screen to fall asleep. And again, if you are there commenting, I do appreciate it. I hope you're having a nice chat amongst yourselves. I'm really sorry that I can't see any. It's this Chameleon app, and they really should update it to include the chat function, but maybe the chat function is a YouTube specific thing that they can't get permission to incorporate into their app. Who knows? There we go. Look at those. That's some fantastic paneling right there. Unreal. And just all the white space. Really nice. As we turn to a black page talking about white space. So there you go. More songs. Look at that. That's great. So great. Oh, I love it. All right. That's all. Thank you very much for joining me. Sorry about the delay. Sorry about the issues. Support Canadian. Check out Ink Studs. Check out Neil the Horse. Thanks very much. We'll talk to you.